EA Games, about a couple of days ago, and this was a huge surprise by the way, because no one saw this one coming, suddenly revealed something, a totally brand new IP called Wild Hearts. Open world monster hunting game, and of course a lot inspired by the old Monster Hunter games, and a release date of February 2017 for PCs and the next generation of consoles only next year. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is now slated to launch mid to late next year, possibly around March. The game is going to be a next generation console exclusive, it's going to be coming to PCs as well. It'll now take place 5 years after the events of Fallen Order and now bring in some Souls-like action to the table.
Jedi.
Now, as in the case of old Avatar, and although Ubisoft still hasn't committed to a specific release date for Frontiers of Pandora, through a recent delay announcement, we got confirmation that the game is now releasing mid to late 2023 at its earliest. For those of you new, Frontiers of Pandora is an open world, as stated by developers, with the quality of the Avatar films themselves, and it is coming exclusively to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and PCs only, so keep it in mind. This is just a reminder for those of you who missed out on the updates. A couple of weeks ago, we came across a roughly 40-minute gameplay trailer for Lies of P, which was also captured through the Gamescom. Now, Lies of P, for those of you still somewhat new, is a Souls-like action RPG like Elden Ring, albeit starring the character Pinocchio and taking a lot of cues from Bloodborne games instead. Check it out. Game's now coming to PCs and all consoles except Switch early to mid next year.
Finally, we meet, son. The stage is set.
The light shines brightest in the darkest of times.
All right, buddy, I'm here for you. Don't worry.
Don't give up.
Keep going.
You can lean on me if you want.
不思議な話もあったもんやな。時代を動かすはずの男が時代遅れの男に切られ死ぬ。
At number 5, we've got like a Dragon Ishin. From roughly 2 weeks ago, this game is actually a fully made, just a remake of the old samurai spin-off of Yakuza series, which actually originally released in Japan almost 10 years ago. The game is now being remade with better graphics, obviously more content, and eventually releasing February 21st for PCs and on consoles as well. Take a look.
Repeat after me. I, V, do solemnly swear
I, V, do solemnly swear
CD Projekt Red actually just came out and announced something called Phantom Liberty. I'm pretty sure most of you know, but just in case you missed out or are totally new to the franchise, this is a DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 and it's gonna be released for PCs, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 only, not the past generation of consoles anymore. This is according to developers an all-new district of Night City that have been worked on since the game's initial release. The DLC will now arrive early to mid next year and this is what it is all about.
Clark.
Dead Space Remake will now arrive January 27 next year. The game will release exclusively on the next generation of consoles and PCs, and it won't necessarily be a straight-up remake either. Like, there is gameplay changes and new content added, the level design is just being overhauled entirely, all the voices are re-recorded, and this is how the gameplay will eventually look like.
This is Senior Medical Officer Nicole Brennan. Medical is...
It's time for a new hero.
At number 8, we've got Dragon Age Dreadwolf. BioWare actually just came out and shared a few minutes of their long awaited new game in the making since God knows when, I actually forgot. Literally no other news and no release date, but they said that the game will come out alongside the Mass Effect sometime next year, so keep it in mind.
Demons, dragons, darkspawn. Even the Dreadwolf.
私の家は遠くにあって、ここじゃないんだけど、でも飛ばされて。
Forspoken, on the other hand, which is just Square Enix's open world action RPG that's been in the making since 2020, I guess. I'm pretty sure most of you are already familiar with this one or have seen some of it, but just in case you have been waiting, the game just got delayed to January 24 next year and it's gonna be released for the PlayStation 5 and PCs only. There was a Tokyo Games show a little while ago and we also did come across a new gameplay showcase as well. Check it out in case you missed it.
生きてたらね。
我が領土を侵害したのは貴様だ。お前がこの戦いを始めたのだ。
救ってもらうのはおとぎ話だけ。
違う。今にわかる。
お前が彼女を殺せば世界は救われる。
もう二度と町の人たちを襲わないって約束して。
正気がこっちに来るぞ。ここにいたら危ない。みんな早く逃げろ。早く逃げろ。
まだ終わりじゃない。
これは私の戦いじゃない。
民は恐れている。民が求める希望を与えてやれないのだ。だがきっとお前なら。お前が来る前、誰もが諦めきっていた。だが今、お前のおかげでみんなの中にかすかな希望が生まれつつある。サンタを倒して全てを終わらせるんだよ。 焼き尽くしてくれる。
私正しいことをしたい。この力をみんなのために使いたい。よし、やってやろうじゃ。
Basim, Abne's Hawk. Are you ready to give up who you once thought you were?
I am.
Ready to sacrifice everything you held close?
I am.
At number 10, we've got Assassin's Creed Mirage. Official. Guys, the new game, in case you are new to, takes place in 9th century Baghdad. That's Iraq, with a much younger protagonist and pretty much everything the series offered to date in a completely new package, although a little bit shorter story-wise, but a game with a much advanced or diverse gameplay system. Check it out. Here's a new trailer. Mirage is set to release for PCs and all consoles except Switch by the end of 2023.
Then, out of the dark, you will come into the light.
ともあれ決まりだな。
目的地はレインベースのレインディナーズ。懐かしいわ。ここでもいろいろあったわね。そうだな。
Bandai Namco also just came out and released a new trailer for One Piece Odyssey. Well, this time around they introduced some totally new kingdom, which I have nothing really to talk about considering zero information that I have of the One Piece universe. But here's a trailer. Hopefully you all know what's going on. One Piece Odyssey is scheduled to release January 13 next year for PCs, PlayStation 5, 4 Xbox consoles as well, and not Switch.
私はもうこれ以上誰も死なせたくないの。俺たちの命くらい一緒にかけてみろ。仲間だろうが。
たとえここが思い出の中でも誰も死んでほしくないの。
アラバスタの生死にも刻まれたワッフルドの名前、あの島と関係があるのは間違いなさそうだわ。
仲間ってそんなに大切に思えるものなの？
みんなもう一度だ。何回でも何十回でもぶっ飛ばしてやる。
At number 12, we've got the old Sons of the Forest survival horror that's been in the making since 2018. This game will be a direct sequel to The Forest, and it will put you in the shoes of an unnamed character sent to a remote island to rescue a billionaire. That is just in terms of story. Where, well, as I've heard, when arrived, you'll be facing off against some cannibal-infested whatever. The game is an open-world survival at its core, and we just got a new trailer for it too. Game is now finally releasing February 23 next year.
And skip the tutorial if you're ready to jump into the action. Depending on which phase you select, you'll be given certain stats, magic, divine beast, and equipment. My melee weapon for this phase is a straight saber. It's a balanced weapon, but hopefully I'll have a chance to pick up a second one with a bit more power, like a glaive.
Next up, we've got Wukong Fallen Dynasty by Team Ninja. This is an action RPG semi-open world IP from earlier this year, which is actually set to be released early next year. Actually, a demo for the game is coming our way on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X only in about a week, and Koei Tecmo even just came out and released a new trailer. Check it out. Game will eventually come out to PCs and other consoles as well, sometime next year.
You'll notice different routes to explore. Some areas may be more challenging than others, but there could be some good loot or flags that you can place to help raise your fortitude. It seems like there's a lot of enemies here. I don't want to face too many with my morale this low. Remember, you can also jump and climb up short walls to reach different areas. Here's a place where I can put down a flag and also avoid those enemies. Make sure when placing battle flags down that you take a quick second to level up your character's stats. Nice. I was able to find a glaive. I'm going to equip that real quick, and it should help me take down some enemies.
This way for the happy ending.
Jimmy?
In case you didn't get caught up with the news, Dead Island 2 just got itself a new trailer, and it's releasing February 3 next year. Well, technically releasing for literally all gaming platforms except Switch. Dead Island 2 is now being developed by a totally different studio called Dumbbuster actually, which is the same folks behind Homefront games, and it'll now have 6 playable characters, a higher emphasis on survival elements, and even a bigger map. Check it out.
Oh shit! Boom! Gods and whiskey!
I will not have this devil in my house!
Gosh, this is beyond insane.
Oh.
thought I'd never hear you again.
At number 15, we've got actually another new trailer on, well, something called Wanted Dead. This is actually by the same folks who made up the old Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive games, hence the resemblance. And why? Well, this is a hack and slasher, but also a third-person shooter with the old traditional beat-em-up game elements. Also, well, a dash of cyberpunk aesthetics as well. Well, check it out. If you're a fan of old Devil May Cry games or just Dead or Alive games, the classic ones, this one is scheduled to be released eventually February 14 next year.
Give him hell, Stone.
A little shock to the texture.
Man finally defeated its overlord. But gods do not fall forever.
In case you missed out on the news, Lords of the Fallen is now coming around once again, and this time the whole thing begins with a D. For those of you new, see, this is a spiritual successor to obviously Lords of the Fallen, and will now continue the Souls-like RPG legacy of the first game, but will take place 1,000 years later. Developers, to accompany the good news, came up with like 3 minutes of cinematic in addition to some gameplay, and said the game is now releasing for PCs and the next generation of consoles only sometime next year.
Humanity to a new age of devastation. Though from these darkest days, new heroes arise. To defy the gods, one must embrace the darkness. And so lies our only hope.
Resident Evil 4, on the other hand, as I've mentioned previously, is now releasing March 24 next year for PCs, PlayStation 4, 5, and Xbox Series X only. This is gonna be a very different game than the original Resident Evil 4, like not only visually but also in terms of gameplay, story, content. Like you could just call it a pretty much new game. However, Capcom actually promised to stay very faithful to the original Resident Evil 4's third-person over-the-shoulder view. Check it out in case you missed it.
You will receive our most sacred body. It begins now.
Coming up behind that, like I've actually said, I don't know why we still don't have a solid release date for this one, but here's a new trailer for Atomic Heart, probably in-game finished product footage, and now will set to be released early next year. Possibly April, I'm guessing. Atomic Heart, guys, in case you are new to it, is a first-person shooter about set in a different scenario where these fine gentlemen have taken over the Earth or the World War II using technology. Moving on from a couple of months ago by Game Science, developers of Wukong, Black Myth, we did come across another, well, like 2 minutes of cinematic and a couple more minutes of gameplay. Black Myth Wukong is now set to be released for PCs and the next generation of consoles only by the end of 2023. In case you are new to it, this will be an open world action RPG, Souls-like at its core.
是月，木声如烟，雾长雷电。 击贝尔歌，真意自现。
And last but not least, from only days ago, as a PC exclusive, we've got something here called War Dogs with a Z, which is an open-world action-adventure set in an alternative universe of Hellstained Realm. I mean, that's what the developers are calling it, but it seems to be inspired by the old Atlantic story where everything was once in a harmony and in a super advanced era. Check it out. Game set to be released by the end of 2023.